So what I've liked best about not only MindWorks, but the whole culture of the school changing and shifting to people having these conversations, what I like best about that is that it feels like it works better when we're all working together at it. So a few years ago, I might have been trying to incorporate a few more study strategies or to have these conversations in a math classroom, but it felt like kids were sort of hearing it as yada, yada, yada when they just hear it from one teacher. And when all of us are talking about it and all of us are using the same language and they're getting it from all sides, then it feels like it starts to sink into them and seem more real, and they can see the connections of what they're hearing from one teacher to the next to the next. So that's been more powerful.
The obvious place for us to start with in our MindWorks program was taking a look at teaching kids what a growth mindset is. And the part of a growth mindset that I have found the most applicable as far as my advisory conferences go, and then also working with my students in an English classroom, has been looking at how we take in feedback. So feedback is something that allows us to grow. And when you pair that with the concept of neuroplasticity, and kids know what that is, and then you pair that with the idea that getting feedback about things that aren't going so well, you need to also have strategies to improve that area in yourself. When we put all those things together, I have found that kids are a lot more open to feedback, and they're also more productive when they come in for help. When we can make it more explicit for them, when they can make it more explicit for themselves about what they need help on, and then how they're going to make that happen. The whole machine just starts to work in a way I hadn't seen before.
Well, when I took my English exam first semester, my vocab scores were lower than I'd like them to be, and I was using Quizlet. And then I tried handwriting my own flashcards, and I found that worked better for me, and my scores improved, and it was a better strategy for me to use.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I would be like, I can't do this, and I'm just going to fail it, and then I would just kind of let it happen. But now, towards the end of the year, I learned that if I just find a strategy that works for me, like going in for help, then it really helps me get to where I want to be, and I do a lot better, and I say I won't fail.
MindWorks is an amazing program that teaches very specific resilient skills, characteristics, and traits. So we get at growth mindset thinking, which is optimistic thinking. Not everybody comes into the world as an optimistic, open thinker, but the good news is we can teach those skills. So our MindWorks program definitely teaches that for students so that they can think about their learning, think about errors within their learning as opportunities, but then that thinking can transfer into other parts of life too that help them become productive citizens and well-adjusted citizens as well.
I think it's really important that students understand how their brain works, but especially understand that they get to play a part in changing their brain's function. When you think of how empowering it is for students to know that if they do something, choose a strategy, and use a strategy, that they are going to be very likely to actually create neural pathways that form the very best habits for them with regard to learning, that improve their ability to do well in school, and that they are taking an active role in that. When students understand how their brain works, how learning works, and what strategies they can use, especially to leverage their strengths, they are much more likely to self-advocate. So they're more likely to talk to a teacher in a way that conveys not just a self-reflection and self-understanding, but a responsibility for their own learning. And by doing that, they're further empowered and they become collaborators with their teachers in the learning process.